men. I love men. I love men.
Arses.
I love men.
Arses.
I love men.
Vertebrae, see more butts. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, point me to the nearest bar. Because has got to get some more. Frank and Freddy, arses. Arses. I like men's butts, I tell you what. You gotta give me that coconut where the dude walks in with a flabby waist and a ball sack in your face. Screw you. Thank you, Uncle Remus. Thank you, Wesley. And thank you, everybody who came. And yes, Wes, you can call me Uncle Pray if you want. It's long and boring, and I just don't like it, what people say about my streams. Arses. Now that's a franchise I'd watch.
It's the anti-checker.
We will return to your scheduled programming shortly, or we are currently experiencing technical difficulties.
I remembered this time before you freak out and start saying, oh no, he's did it again. I remembered. Man, sorry. So, Michael J. Crawford, the anti-checker here, and yes, I'm feeling a bit under the weather still. Yesterday, I just got hit with like a stomach bug. Hit me like a ton of bricks, but I'm feeling somewhat better now, not 100%, but I'm at least functional. So I had some soup during Bird of Prey stream, and that seems to have not made my stomach too upset, so far so good on that. In the chat, DJ and Yosef both posted before the stream started, but that doesn't count. The first that actually started once I started the stream was Cinnabon, and then Commander Shran says, hello, Life with Matthew says, hey, Ash-Checker, is it the knee bothering you or something else? Well, the knee is still bothering me, of course, but like I said, I'm just feeling a little under the weather, which I feel horrible about because I usually stream on Friday nights. That's why I'm doing this stream right now. Mark Andy says, so early, yes. This is kind of a makeup stream, if you will. Sci-Fi Nation says, greetings, Anti-Checker and fellow nerds. How you doing, my friend? Bird of Prey says, Kapla, how you doing, Bird? Jeff Franklin says, sorry you're not feeling well. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Wesley says, greetings, turds and people with a cold. Yes. I don't think it's a cold, but I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's the flu, because the flu is generally pretty serious. It's just some kind of stomach bug, some stomach virus that just didn't like me. Jeff says, I have an annoying cold-like symptoms. This happens mostly when I wake up, and I get better as the day progresses. Yeah, colds, they'll do that, like where you feel the worst. I don't know what it is about when you get sick to where when you first get up in the morning, you feel the absolute worst. And then it slowly progresses through the day. Then you go to bed and you get up the next morning, you feel like crap again, and then you got to go through it all over again. The worst part of this is the last couple of nights I have not been able to sleep at all. So I mean, just I literally would have to I have to like get some nap time in during the day because I couldn't sleep. Wes says, I got a cold yesterday, took a nap, now I'm better, very good. There was a Wonder Woman 2 trailer release today. Oh, I did not know that. Bird likes men and hates Trek. It's true if you have it recorded. Yeah, it's all true. There's nothing, I mean, it's not like I'm making something up. I played the recording, you know. And let's see. You do sound very tired. Yeah, sorry you're not sleeping. It happens. I'm just trying to deal with it. All right, so let's see here. We'll go to Wonder Woman. I think it's called Wonder Woman 1984, right? All right, so are they trying to make it look like an old TV show in that one, or is that just the way that one was done? All right, let's. All right, so what I'm going to do here in just a second, and sorry you're not feeling, I hope you get better. Thank you, Tubin. And Gary, Trek 95, Gary says, you look and sound exhausted. I feel exhausted. All right, so let's take a look here at this Wonder Woman trailer. I'm going to mute the audio because I don't want the copyright bots to go crazy here, and we'll see what's going on. First, of course, we get to see little Richie Cunningham selling the Masterclass, because I get a lot of ads for that Masterclass stuff.
Everyone needs you.
Nothing good is born from life. And greatness is not what you think.
So it's a trailer for a trailer. Or is...
Hey everyone, I'm Gal Gadot. I'm here to let you all know that something very exciting is coming your way this Sunday, December 8th.
So the trailer actually drops tomorrow. This was just a commercial for the trailer. Which of course they're doing in 4x3. It's not even 4x3, it's just like a straight up square. Let me see if I can move this a little bit so you can see. The format is just a straight up square, which is not even an accurate television square for that time period. So we'll see. Honestly, that shot of the bullet looks horrible. And Yosef says, can a little money and some kelp soup cheer you up? Well, you know, it's funny you should say that. I actually did have some soup just a little while ago. It was not kelp soup, but it was soup. And let me turn this off. I remember how to do that. All right. And now, of course, because my crappy memory, I have to look up which one is the kelp soup one, because I know that's why you said that. Swedish Chef 21. You got it here. Hold on. Oh crap, no sound. I just realized I had a music in that Wonder Woman thing.
And there's pork. It is with cooking with the pork and the pork. Okay, with the cool, and we're gonna make the kelp. Here's the bring out the kelp.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, the kelp, I get it in the pot.
Get in the pot here.
And then we stir the kelp. That's a good kelp.
Okay.
There we go. Oops, wrong button. Wrong button again. Wow, I'm just having a tough old time there. All right, so there we go. So thank you, Yosef. I do appreciate it. Billy Russo says, hey, Trigger, hello. Hey, Billy, good to see you. The Wonder Woman trailer is a teaser telling you the actual trailer is Sunday the 8th. Yes, that's all it is. But I have to say, looking at that trailer, let me bring it up over here. This shot right here of her deflecting the bullet. I'm gonna bring the volume of this down because we don't need the sound for it, but it just looks horrible. I'm sorry, but that bullet, that CG bullet looks absolutely horrible. Come on. Look at that. I mean, that looks like special effects from a TV show from like 10 years ago. So yeah, Joseph said with audio, yes, I got it there. Josh says starting next Saturday, Bird will be doing your favorite Star Trek movie era. Well, no, actually next Saturday, if I remember correctly, he's Oh yeah, he's doing Generations, isn't he? Yeah. Cinnabon said should be right around 8 Central. Not sure what you mean there, Cinnabon. I remember when I was young, there was a trailer with a bullet for a Superman movie, and it would go right into his eye, into the pupil, and bounce off. Yeah, that was for Superman Returns. Wow. You were young when Superman Returns came out, huh? Thanks. You just made me feel really effing old. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Let me see. If we go to, here's the official trailer for Superman Returns. And actually, we'll just do it this way so that I don't get in trouble with the copyright bots. And let's see here. Yeah. Typical Superman flying around, Clark Kent, blah, blah, blah. I gotta say, the visual effects in Superman Returns, not bad. It's just the story was kind of lame. Let's see. Can we get that bullet to the face shot? Oh, no, that's it. There it is. All right. Yeah, look at that. Now that looks 10 times better. Let's go back and look at that again. Look at the bullet in particular here. Just focus your attention on the bullet as it hits Superman. All right. So then we'll go back to the Wonder Woman trailer. And look at that bullet. I'm sorry, there's no comparison. I don't understand that. That bullet from Wonder Woman looks like absolute crap. The crap looks like it was made in '84. Yeah, it kind of does. Ozzy says, a strange Saturday stream. Yes, that's because I didn't do a stream last night because I wasn't feeling well, so I figured I'd do a little stream today. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this. Not for very long, I think, but I just wanted to say hi to you guys and apologize for not streaming last night. Like when Matthew says, I hope the older effects are on purpose. They're really trying to give it the 1980s vibe. I don't know. Darth Maul says, I was born when it's Christopher Reeve, not Reeves. It was the Reeves was the name of the guy that played Superman way back. Reeve is the guy that played him in the 1979 Superman. Or is it 1980? Whatever. I think it's 79. But anyway, how many Trigon episodes have you seen? I will super chat for each one you have watched. Well, I don't know exactly. Not that many. So I wouldn't. Don't worry, Wesley. I will get some in. My brain, is a little fuzzy right now. The bullet came out of the gun itself before it was fired. Well, of course, because it's stupid. Jam says, greetings, brother. Only 12 days till the greatest sci-fi movie ever conceived. But remember, it's important to stay hydrated to make sure you take a large container of gender fluid. Yes, do not forget to take your gender fluid before going to see Rise of Skywalker. Very good sound advice, and you should be repeating that as much and as often as possible. In fact, I'm going to probably put that on Twitter. But only a week away from The Expanse, so that will more than make up for it. I think DC generally has way inferior visual effects to Marvel. Well, yes and no, Joseph. And Wesley puts in a buck. Thank you, Wesley. I do appreciate it. But Joseph, I don't think that the Marvel. First of all, I mean, granted, when we want to compare apples to apples, Infinity War and Endgame, that's way down the production pipeline. That's 20 plus movies in. But if you look at the visuals on, say, Iron Man 1, Incredible Hulk, Captain America, the First Avenger, the visual effects weren't spectacular at that point. They were good, but they weren't spectacular. This Wonder Woman 1984 looks like crap. I'm sorry. I'm surprised. It looks unfinished. Darth Maul says, also wasn't around for TMP, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, was born a few months after Wrath of Khan, so I was around for it. I hate you, Darth Maul. I've seen every Star Trek and Star Wars movie in theaters. Yeah, I'm old. Tiki says, globalism ruined American movies. I don't think globalism is the problem. Because really, the globalism stuff is that's part of the reason why you're seeing a little bit more Asian representation in films, because, of course, the Chinese market is becoming important. So that's like the inclusion of Dr. Chow in, say, Avengers Age of Ultron. That's part of the globalism effect. I don't think Dr. Chow is a negative thing in and of itself, because they were going to give that part to somebody. So I don't have a problem with that. I also get the feeling that might be why the Mandarin was changed, was out of sensitivity to the Chinese. But really what's ruining films is it's one thing to make adjustments to make it appealing by, hey, let's get a couple of Asian characters in there so the Chinese market will want to see the movie. That actually is good business sense, as opposed to, hey, let's make the entire movie about feminism, which nobody wants to see, like we saw with The Last Jedi and Star Trek Discovery and stuff. And DJ says, basically, she grabbed the gun and ejected it before it could shoot, and then batted away as someone else in that shot. I assume you mean at someone else. That would explain why the bullet is whole. It's still in the cartridge and everything, but that doesn't explain the really bad CGI. That bullet looks like a stock bullet you could buy online for 99 cents and load into Blender. I mean, it just doesn't look good. And it doesn't look well lit. The lighting on a CG model, lighting is critical. That's why you see in all the behind the scenes stuff, when you see the guy sitting there holding a mirror looking ball, and then he'll flip it around and it's a flat toned ball. That's strictly for the CG artist to be able to nail the lighting. And if you don't put the time into the lighting of the CG effects, they tend to look like CG effects. Now, some stuff is going to look CG no matter what you do. Like when the Incredible Hulk is on screen, well, there's no such thing as an 8-foot tall green dude with arms this big around, right? That's just not a realistic proposition. So it's CG, but you can still make him look good. Jeff says LIS on December 24th. LIS. Not sure what you're talking about there. Well, then give me some data laughing. You got it, Wesley. You got it. I could use a little data laughing myself.
Sir, we are being hailed. On screen. What is your problem?
I am Lore.
Do you need help?
I have a YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Lore Reloaded.
Let me guess, their rubber band broke, right?
I make YouTube go.
Now, true story, I actually saw Lore Reloaded just about maybe 2 hours ago, because yesterday was Lore's birthday. And so Mrs. Anti-Checker made Lore an incredible looking chocolate cake. I mean, just incredible. It's got 5 distinctly different kinds of chocolate in it. The center of the cake is chocolate custard. It's got like the Ghirardelli chocolate chips on top, Hershey's chocolate frosting underneath those chocolate chips. I don't remember what kind of chocolate the cake itself is. I mean, it looks good. So Lore has that cake now. And I'm sure he'll talk about how awesome it is. But so now Joshua, as you know, my son, is autistic. And one thing about his autism that is kind of annoying, but at times can also be quite funny, is that he says pretty much whatever's on his mind, no matter what. And so he has no filter for the situation. You know, like if for example, if a woman said to him, "Hey, does this dress make me look fat?" and he would just say yes. You know, there's no filter on it. So you guys know that, you know, like in that picture, in that super chat we just watched, Laura has the goatee. Now Laura has kind of a full beard, and I made fun of him saying that he looks like an Ewok. And when we were giving Laura the cake, Joshua just said, you know, I think you should shave the beard. And I said, well, you know, Joshua, I've told him he looks like an Ewok. And Laura said, yeah, do you think I look like an Ewok? And he said, yeah, but not cute. Just, oh man, I was just like, wow, you did not just say that. Oh man. And so had to have a little talk to Joshua about how that's not an appropriate thing to say. Darth Maul says, but yeah, I feel too old. I feel old too when they said they were a kid when Superman Returns come out. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, I'll tell you, the first time I genuinely felt old was I was on break at work. This was obviously a few years back. Nikki D put $5 in. Thank you so much. Is Kathleen Kennedy a lame duck executive? Also, what are your box office predictions for Rise of Skywalker? I'll get to that. Give me just a couple minutes, Nikki. That needs a little bit of time, so I will get into that in just a minute as soon as I finish what I was saying. And now I completely lost track of what I was saying anyway. So, oh yeah, it's for feeling old. So when I felt old this was probably about 10 years ago. I was at work, I was on a break and talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about the Gulf War. And I mentioned how, you know, while yes, I know some people were pissed that we didn't invade Iraq, at least with the first Gulf War, George H.W. Bush had a clear exit strategy. And the other person that was sitting there with us in the conversation says, wait a minute, there was another Gulf War? I was like, oh, crap. Visual effects for Iron Man 1 were light years beyond the mustache removal of Justice League. That is true. That was a horrible, horrible thing. All right, so let me get into Nikki's thing, and then I'll get to Thundercats in just a minute. Nikki D says, is Kathleen Kennedy a lame duck executive? Is the first part of, I don't know. I'm sorry, Nikki. I don't know if you're male or female. So with the name Nikki, I'm going to assume female right now. But so is Kathleen Kennedy a lame duck executive? I believe she is. I genuinely believe she is. I think that Bob Iger is not stupid. I think that he wants Disney to be a financially successful corporation, and that he sees what's going on with Star Wars. I also think it's no coincidence the fact that Bob Iger has, the first time he's actually been on set for the production of anything Star Wars is The Mandalorian, and that's because of the blowout over Last Jedi and Solo. And The Mandalorian is the first Star Wars to come out of the Kathleen Kennedy-led Lucasfilm that was not feminist agenda. So I do think she's lame duck. I think the only reason she's still there is some kind of contract, and when that contract is up, she will be gone. So box office for Rise of Skywalker. That's a tough one, because it's either going to make, I think that the chances are it's going to probably make around $1 billion to a little less than $1 billion, up to $2 to $3 billion. And you're like, whoa, Andy, are you kidding? No, but here's the problem. It all depends on if J.J. Abrams pulls off a miracle and makes it good. Because here's what I think is going to happen. I don't think that the opening weekend is going to be as strong as The Last Jedi or the Force Awakens. I think that the opening weekend is going to be pretty weak. However, and Cold Fusion, thank you, puts $10 in, says, insert clever comment here. That was an incredibly clever comment, Cold Fusion. So yes, it is inserted. Thank you, my friend. I truly, truly appreciate your generosity. I really do. It touches me like I can't say, because, you know, I don't have the doll to show you where it touches me. Anyway, so here's the thing. We all know that a lot of the fandom menace, which includes probably about 99% of my audience, is not going to go see it, at least not on opening weekend. And they're going to let people like myself, well, granted I'm small time, but say people like Nerdrotic, like Mecha Random, Doomcock, and all the rest of the big heavy hitters in the Phantom Menace, they're going to let them go see it and talk about it. And if they see on that weekend, Nerdrotic and myself and everybody else talking about, holy crap, this movie is actually awesome, then the Phantom Menace is not only going to go, they're going to go in droves, and they're going to go over and over and over and show support for this movie. And that's why I say that could be the $2-3 billion scenario. However, if, as many expect, me and Gary and Doomcock and everybody else is saying, oh man, this is even worse than we thought. Oh man, I can't believe how woke this movie is. Oh, I can't believe just how bad this movie is, or whatever. Or even the in-between. It's okay, but it's nothing to write home about. It's not worthy of the name Star Wars. If either of those happen, then the Phantom Menace is going to sit it out, I think. I think most of the Phantom Menace is going to say, you know what, I'll watch it on Disney Plus, or, and I don't endorse this type of behavior, but many will probably say, screw it, I'm going to use BitTorrent and pirate it. So that's what I think is going to happen. So I think it's impossible to really give a solid prediction. Dan23 says, do you like the different colors of photon torpedoes in Trek? No, I do not. I don't like the inconsistency. And the best looking photon torpedo in all of Trek is from Star Trek, the motion picture. The blue photon torpedo was freaking epic. And we only got to see it once. And I was so disappointed that they switched to red by the time Star Trek 2 came out. All right, back to where I was in the chat. Thundercats Ho says, Antrigger, due to the amount of movies that require CGI, do you think there's a problem with enough talented artists to perform the job? I know they're outsourced a lot of the work now. Well, no, that's not the problem. Because that type of, as far as this, first of all, yes, there's a bazillion effects houses that do CGI work now. And what they'll generally do is hire one house that's like the main effects house. Like, you know, obviously the one that people usually want is ILM or something like Weta, although we haven't heard that much from Weta as of late. But ILM is really like the gold standard. And so people try to get ILM to be their primary effects house. Then for the shots, for smaller or individual shots, they'll send them to smaller effects houses based on competency level. Now, that shot we saw of the Wonder Woman trailer was not a difficult shot. I will tell you, I have actually taken college-level courses in visual effects. I know how this stuff works. Unfortunately, I can't afford the software for my own private use, or I would have. Maya is my personal favorite of the CG products that I used in college, and Maya is really, really good and very powerful. I could have done that bullet scene better than it looks. And that's saying something, because I am not that good. Assuming I had all the software. And let's see. In the first Avengers movie, you can tell their flying is in the studio. Yes, you absolutely can. DJ says, don't feel bad, Antrigger. I saw all the Star Trek and Star Wars in theaters too. Thank you, DJ. I know you're old like me. The only problem I have with marketing to the Chinese market is it makes the Chinese character feel like a pointless token. Sometimes you're right. That can be a problem. Like, that's how I kind of felt in Iron Man 3 with the surgeon. Like, a lot of people don't realize there's actually a different cut of Iron Man 3. At the end of the movie, you'll notice that he's getting the shrapnel taken out, and he no longer needs the arc reactor in his chest. The surgeon happens to be Chinese. In the Chinese release of the film, that Chinese surgeon actually has a significant part. In the original, he does not. Or in the American release, I should say, he does not. All right, and so Jeff says, LIS, Lost in Space. Oh, Lost in Space. December 24th. So are they doing another season then on Netflix? Okay, I don't care. I thought it was bland at best. We decided this morning we need a duet with Bird and Laura singing Baby It's Cold Outside. Oh my God, that would be epic. That would be freaking epic. We got to make that happen. We absolutely got to make that happen. I will talk to Laura and see if he's willing to do it. And so because I think that would be so freaking cool, especially for the holidays. It's funny because, my favorite rendition of that song is the Seth MacFarlane. And if you guys don't know, Seth MacFarlane is an incredible crooner. I know that Bird of Prey thinks Frank Sinatra is everything, but I'm sorry. I think that Seth MacFarlane has got a better set of pipes than Frank Sinatra. And I know that that's, like I said, blasphemy to Bird, but I think it's true.
Hello,
And T-Bird throws 10 fake Canadian dollars, says Happy Holidays and Merry Christmas to the Crawford clan and the auntie. Thank you. Thank you so much, T-Bird. I do appreciate it. And yes, I got to tell you, you guys have made this holiday season bearable for me. So, yeah. But thank you, T-Berg. And Aberjam says, I was 3 years old when Star Wars came out. Yes, Star Wars, not A New Hope. I'm with you there, my friend. I hate calling that movie Episode 4 or A New Hope. It is just called Star Wars. What was really confusing for a lot of people was back, and of course, most of the people in this audience wouldn't remember this because they're too young, but back in the early 80s, when the sequels were coming out, like you would see Return of the Jedi was in the theaters, on the theater marquee, they didn't have room for the full title of the movie. So they would just put Star Wars 3, and then you go in, and of course it would say Episode 6. And so it was like people actually genuinely get confused by that. No, I don't think it's the dress. I'm not sure what that's talking about, but okay. And Tiki says Yubnub. Oh, because of Lore being an Ewok. Yes. Is Kathleen Kennedy? Oh, I already read that. Thank you, Nikki, again for the $5. I do appreciate that, and I've already answered that. But yes, Kathleen Kennedy is a lame duck, and I already explained the problems with trying to predict Rise of Skywalker's box office. I do think it'll have a mediocre opening weekend for a Star Wars movie. Mediocre meaning it'll be great if it was any other movie, but for a Star Wars movie, it'll probably be a disappointment. There's Dan. So you like the different colors of photon torpedoes? I already answered that. Yes, I like the blue photon torpedo, and I don't like the red photon torpedoes or the white quantum torpedoes. Bring back blue. Hashtag bring back blue. Aberjam says, Andrew, I wish more people had no filter. I'd take one straight talker over 1,000 backstabbing panders any day of the week. Well, true, but there's a difference between being a straight talker and saying things that people could. I mean, fortunately, Lore is a good-natured guy, and so it's not. And he also knows Joshua, so it's not like he was like offended or anything. But if Lore was anybody else, I mean, think about it. If some person said, "Oh yeah, you look like an Ewok, but not cute," you might find that offensive. Joshua's reactions are actually similar to mine, but it's because of my age. I'm pretty straightforward, people. Well, he gets that from his mother, too. She is very blunt. I was 14 when they were playing the opening invasion on a TV at my school. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Sci-Fi Nation. And there is Cold Fusion Waffles, $10 with the insert clever comment. That is definitely the most clever comment we've inserted all day. I do appreciate that. Peter Quinn says, hey there, answering your house things. Oh, man, been rough. I'm getting over some kind of stomach bug. Fortunately, it seems like it's just like a little 24 to 48 hour bug. I'm feeling much better today than I was yesterday. But the knee and stuff are not doing well, and I haven't slept at all in about 2 days. I don't remember too much of the details of the Gulf War, I assume you mean, since it was like, oh, you're talking about, the invasion, because I was talking about the Gulf War. Yes, I'll tell you, I remember when they actually started the attack, I was at a Portland Trailblazers game, actually. And this is back when the Trailblazers were freaking awesome back in the early 90s. And they stopped the game and played a live feed of President Bush announcing that Operation Desert, what was it called? Now I can't remember what it was called, but that the actual attack had begun, and the entire arena just erupted with applause. I don't remember too much of the details of the Gulf War since I was like in first or second grade, but I knew it happened. That's shocking to me what was said. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize. Sci-Fi Nation says, Antrigger, it's inserted. Gonna have to snip that bit. Okay. Uncle Ramus says, John Campea will love Rise of Skywalker. Well, of course he will, because he is a shill. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's getting to the point where I don't trust people, like pundits like John Campea. He is an absolute shill, and so I don't believe anything he says. I think he's saying it because that's what he was instructed to say. Average says, let me rephrase or repose Nikki's question. The majority of the leaks are correct. If the majority of the leaks are correct about the Rise of Skywalker, how do you think it'll face the box office? Well, if the leak... Now, I haven't read the actual leaks, so I've only heard second and third hand about the leaks. Because I also, no offense to my friends like Doomcock and Nerdrotic, but I don't watch those videos because I don't want to know. But but the general feel I get is if the leaks are as bad as people are describing, then we'll be down to the $1 or sub $1 billion mark for that movie. And Loquisha says, happy TMP 40th anniversary. Indeed. Is it today? Man, I knew it was coming up, but oh man, I'm old. So you didn't like the Chinese throwing star torpedoes of TNG? No, I did not. And throwing stars, however, are Japanese. Andrew, what is your opinion of why the Mandarin didn't have his rifle with him in episode 5? You mean the Mandalorian? The Mandarin, totally different franchise. You know, I think that I know that he was on Tatooine. Maybe he just didn't feel like bringing it, or maybe Clara Dune still has it. I don't know. It did seem odd to me that he didn't have it. So I don't know. I think either he didn't take it out because he didn't think he would need it, which doesn't make a lot of sense considering what he faced down, or Cara Dune actually still has it. Or maybe it got damaged in that battle. I hope they explain it. Sometimes visual effects in trailers can change to what we see of the actual movie. Yes, that's true. We sometimes get unfinished visual effects in a trailer, but you shouldn't get because that's like the only cool shot in that trailer, at least the shot you're supposed to go, ooh, look at her deflect that bullet, just like in the old TV show. And to have it look that bad, I think was a bad idea. First time I felt old, a classic rock station played Smells Like Teen Spirit. Well, you see, movies like Wonder Woman 1984 make me feel old because that song they were playing at the end of the trailer, I can't remember the name of it. Mrs. Antrecker could tell you the name of that song in a heartbeat. That's like, oh, I can't believe no. And there's T-Berg's 10 fake Canadian dollars. Thank you, my friend. Stan Lee says Lost in Space only if they bring back Joey. Not going to happen. Seth is a wannabe Sinatra. I think Seth is really, really good. I'm sorry. He's not a wannabe. He is the real deal. Listen to that man sing. He has got an incredible set of pipes on him. Abergen says, I respectfully disagree with your opinion on ILM. They are the gold standard for rendering fake technology, but Weta are superior with real-life biology renders. Well, you see, here's the thing, though. You're right in that what Weta really broke new ground with was, particularly with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, was in large-scale crowd manipulation. They actually created a plugin for Maya, which I've used, by the way. It's incredible. It's called Massive. And the Massive plugin to Maya allows you to program into it behavioral patterns for different entities in a given scenario so that it makes it look more natural. Not everybody is constantly doing the exact same animation as everybody else. And so I will give you the Weta, at least in the past, has been better with real-life biology, but I haven't been following the industry that much. I haven't heard much from Weta. That's the thing. And so I don't know what they're doing nowadays as far as visual effects. Peter says, I watched Bohemian Rhapsody earlier today, and wow, what a film. I caught myself singing along. I have not seen it yet. I've heard it's really good. Joshua, I know, really liked it. And so, but I have not gotten around to seeing it. Peter says, Star Wars was a year old when I was born. Shut up. Darth Maul says, Seth plays a mouse in the movie Sing. There's no auto-tuning that guy. He's got the pipes. Yeah, he absolutely does. And in fact, like, I'll tell you, that now that it's the official Christmas season, we use Spotify for all of our music. So I actually have the Spotify Pro or whatever they call it account, so that we can listen to all the music. And I created a Christmas playlist, and about a third of that Christmas playlist is all Seth MacFarlane, because he does some sweet, sweet renditions of some classic Christmas tunes. Dan says, I agree, and on Seth MacFarlane singing, yes. Trace says, I was 5 years old in 1977. I was there. It will always be Star Wars to me. Yes. Thank you, my friend. I was 9, and I remember it like it was freaking yesterday. In fact, my parents had to drag, and I know I've told this before, but we got a lot of newer people that have come into the live stream since then. My parents had to drag me kicking and screaming to go see that movie. Why? Because every weeknight at 6 o'clock, like clockwork, I was glued to our TV watching Star Trek. And they were like, oh no, we're going to go see Star Wars tonight. And I was like, no, it's almost time for Star Trek. And I was screaming, I was crying, I was complaining the whole way to the theater. I was complaining the whole time we were waiting in line. We sat down, then the movie came on. Excuse me. And afterwards I said, wow, Mom, Dad, I would be willing to miss Star Trek again to watch that again. Now, I didn't think it was better than Trek as a whole, but I'd seen every Star Trek. That was something different. I don't think it's the dress comment was about a woman asking if dress makes her look fat. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's what's under the dress. Yes. I've been taking some flack from mods in other streams. Do you have any idea what to do with admin abuse in the streams? I got silenced and don't know what to do about it. Well, Joseph, I don't know what happened because I wasn't there, obviously. It's tough because, like, I have a lot of mods, but fortunately my mods are very well behaved. They generally, the only time, and usually if I see that the mods removed a comment, I'll usually look to see what the comment was, and I almost always agree with it. And my mods almost never kick anybody unless somebody is really getting out of hand. But at the same time, we have an incredibly well-behaved crowd. That's something I take great pride in on my live streams, is that despite the fact that the channel is growing and everything, and that we sometimes deal with controversial subjects, and sometimes we really, really disagree, it's very difficult because, I can't moderate the channel directly, and, but you guys have been awesome. You guys have made it a breeze. There's only been a couple of people that have ever really, truly been trolls or harassing, and the mods make quick, short work of those people. But Joseph, I don't know what the reasoning was behind you getting silenced, what was actually said and all that. It's really, you would have to bring it up with that particular channel host, whoever that was, whether it was Lore or Nerdrotic or whoever. You'd have to try, and I know it can be difficult sometimes. Generally, the best way to get a hold of a lot of those guys is through Twitter, but it may take a while. I'll tell you, Nerdrotic Nerdrotic and I are actual friends, and I'll send him a message on Twitter, and then he'll get back to me like 2 weeks later. Now, I understand he's crazy busy with his channel, but still. Darth Maul says, any chance we can canonize those TMP blue photons as primitive quantum torpedoes? I would like that, but I don't think so. Trek 95 says, sorry, check Discord after you sleep. I'll try. I was 18 when Star Wars came out and watched it, Star Trek first run on NBC. Very cool. Ramona, Time Trekker, friend of Baby Yoda. Wow, that is a mouthful of a username, but welcome. I assume you're new around here. By the way, since and I just happened to see your username pop up. Just so you know, on my live streams, generally speaking, make sure you put @AntiTrekker in the live or in your message, so I can it'll pop out and be highlighted in orange so I can read it. But since I happen to see it looked like a new name, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss it. But you were 18. So you were, so that makes you about 9 years older than me. And so that means that I am now officially not the oldest person in the universe. That is good to know. Thank you. I was born in 77, so Star Wars in 1980 upon its first release, when it was called Star Wars Episode 4 New Hope, I actually remember seeing it. Well, that was the re-release. because the original release was in 77. In 1980 was a re-release, and that's actually when Episode 4, New Hope, was added to the opening crawl. And that was the first tinkering that Lucas did to that film. And then they released Empire. Snepfen Jagger says, what is your opinion on why the Mandalorian didn't have his rifle with him? Well, I already answered that a little bit. It's a mystery. I don't know. There's not a good explanation for it. So I'm hoping that they address it in a future episode. It could be just simply that Filoni wasn't thinking about it. No, it wasn't Desert Storm. Desert Storm was George W. Bush's attack. I'm trying to remember what George H.W. Bush's attack was called. Bird. But thank you. But Desert Storm, Patriots, Scuds, good times. Yes. And then Cold Fusion Waffles, which was extended? The scene of the Enterprise leaving dry dock or the fantastic musical score accompanying it? Which was extended? The scene of the Enterprise leaving the dry dock or the fantastic musical score accompanying it? Cold Fusion, I'm not 100% sure I understand your... By the way, thanks for the $5, by the way, but I'm not 100% sure I understand what you mean. Which was extended... I assume you're talking about either Star Trek the Motion Picture or Star Trek 2. But the scene of the Enterprise leaving dry dock or the fantastic musical score accompanying, which was extended? I don't know the answer to that. If only one was extended. So if you could clarify, Cold Fusion, then I'll try to keep an eye out for it. But thank you again, my friend. I do appreciate it. Andy says, my first date, I took her to Star Wars in theaters. I was 15. Wow. That's awesome. That's a great first date. Operation Desert Storm, then it was Desert Freedom. I thought, well, now I'm going to have to look it up, because I thought Desert Storm was what George W. Bush's attack was called. That was Desert Shield, then Desert Storm, wasn't it? Let's see. What was the name of the first? Let's see. I guess it was Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I don't know why I was thinking getting the George W. Bush one. Okay, so let me take a look. What was... Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm just... And let's see, where was I? Jeffrey Turner, a.k.a. Mega Jetty 1, says, hey, Anti-Trigger. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Bird of Prey says, were you featured on any Desert Storm trading cards? No, I was not. However, I was in the Army Reserves at that time, and I was put on alert. Doomrotic and Nerd... That's just wrong. Today is that day that will live in infamy. Okay, Bird. Not sure why you're saying that. You're talking about because you're singing? Average Jam says, I don't expect teens or 20-somethings to remember Ghostbusters at the theater, but I really don't remember something I consider recent. But they don't remember something I consider recent, like 9/11, then I really feel old. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cold Fusion Waff says, Mandalorian chicken is the best. Indeed. Greetings, Anti-Trigger and fellow nerds. Hey, Stromer, how you doing, my friend? And let's see. Dan23 says, I have no interest to see. And now Joe is calling. Probably to try and educate me.
That's right.
Bird O'Prey.
Hey.
Hey.
You don't know why today is a day that will live in infamy? And you were in the military?
Oh, duh. It's December 7th. Okay, I'm sorry. Shut up. You know what? First of all, you know, Joe, that I'm feeling under the weather, right?
My microphone screwed up. That was it. Today was the day Japan attacked Pearl Harbor.
Yes, that's I said. I
got to
didn't realize the
disconnect.
date.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Bye. Kapla.
Okay. Well, Joe couldn't hear me, but yes, as soon as I looked at the date on my computer, I realized what he was talking about. So, Joe, if you hear me now, yes, thank you for reminding me. When I looked at it says 12/7 down the corner, I was like, oh crap, it's Pearl Harbor Day. I didn't even realize it because I've been so out of it the last couple of days. It's our era of music, and Sugar Queen. Yeah, but I wasn't a big Queen fan back in the day, honestly. Not that they're bad. I don't dislike Queen, but I've never been a big fan. I have no interest to watch SpongeBob 3 or Scooby. Well, good. Neither do I. Everton says, Weta's latest projects include Ragnarok, Blade Runner, and Attila. They also do pretty much all of Cameron's movies. Well, Cameron's movies, yeah, we'll see. Of course, you know, the next, they're going to come out with that Avatar 2. Only 10 years too late. Joseph says, basically, I called out a mod that was present in 2 streams for admin abuse, and because I accused him, I get banned. That basically proves my point. Not necessarily. Have they remade Charmed on the CW? I certainly hope not. That's, but I've never seen Charmed. I never give a crap about Charmed. But Joseph, here's the problem. This is the thing. If you come onto a stream, and let's say that Dan23 kicked you up from a recent stream because of some reason, then you come onto another stream and you say, you're just harassing me. You banned me for no good reason whatsoever. Then he's going to kick you again. And thinking that, of course I had a good reason for it, and now you're just harassing me, so goodbye. That's the problem you run into. It kind of tends to escalate very quickly, and so that's why you got to leveler heads must apply. And I don't know how you approached them, but I'm just saying that's generally what a lot of happens. So if they did remake Charmed, that's just sad. Trey says, it was 1981 actually. A lot of people were confused. Okay, I don't remember the years very well. I'm old. Operation Desert Storm, yes. I don't know why I thought that was the George Bush War, or the George H.W. Bush. It was, George W. was Enduring Freedom. Okay. That's, just my old age kicking in. Thanks, Bird. I like the Enterprise leaving space dock to the same music when they were trying to escape the Reliant. That doesn't seem like, I'd have to look at it. That doesn't seem like it would fit quite right. Wasn't Norman Schwarzkopf head CO for it? Yes. Storm and Norman was the man back then. George Dubai campaign was Operation Desert Spoon. That's okay. Help me, help me, help me, help me. What is that from? The Fly? Operation Iraqi Freedom. Is that what it was? I thought, okay. I thought, well, what did Bird say? Enduring Freedom. I thought it was, yeah, I think Enduring Freedom sounds more like it. Was the scene made longer to play out the score in full, or was the music itself extended to longer to accompany the scene, or is it a mystery never to be solved? I don't know. It's you know what's possible is, and this is probably what happened, is that generally speaking, during the you have the composer. In the case of Star Trek II, it was James Horner, of course, who puts together the general themes. Then they give him a cut of the movie, and he scores the actual scenes, and that's why they time the music with some of the action beats and stuff, and why that works so well if it's well done. But then some scenes get edited, and then they have to say, oops, we can't use this piece of music, and so then they'll go to James Horner and say, write a shorter version so that they can use that. So in all probability, when they added more footage, it added the original score for it. But I don't know 100%. Antracker has old-timers disease. I indeed do. Jeff Franklin says, cold fusion waffles and anti-trekker. I read an article yesterday saying that they did a scene to show the beauty of the central character of the Enterprise, so that's why the scene is so long. Well, I do. In Star Trek the Motion Picture, I know a lot of people complain that, like, the Scotty Kirk flyby of the Enterprise is way too long. I thought it was beautiful. Yosa says, my wife picked the movie for our first date, Blade Trinity. On that day, I understood that a fairy tale romance is not her thing, and we were happy together since that day. Yes. Well, you should have said on that day you understood that fairy tale romance was real. I'll tell you, it's funny because even though, like Mrs. Anti-Trekker loves going, we've seen all the Marvel movies together. We've seen all of the Star Wars movies that have come out since starting with episode 1. Because obviously we didn't know each other back when the original trilogy came out. Every Star Trek movie since, I believe, Star Trek V we've seen together. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think Star Trek V was the first one we saw together. Take a look. Star Trek 5 came out in 89. Yeah, it was 5 and 4 was in 86. So yeah, 5 was the first Star Trek movie we saw together. We saw every Trek movie since then, including, of course, all the Next Gen films and the Kelvinverse films. So yeah, she's a winner. Let's see. Dan says, Editor can actually get apps that are used for fake phone calls. Okay. Not sure what you're talking about. People generally say the Pearl Harbor movie was not well received. The Pearl Harbor movie with Ben Affleck, yeah, it wasn't. And Resolute says, yes, Charmed remake is on the CW. Well, I'm glad I'm not watching it. Jeffrey Turner, a.k.a. Mega Jetty 1, says, Trigger, my top 3 favorite bands are AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, and Queen. You are definitely a rocker then. I was more of a wavo, so I would have like Depeche Mode, Duran Duran, The Cure, those kind of bands. Let's see. I thought December 7th was the day Sassy ate the Oprah's Christmas cake in one sitting. That was the infamy. Yeah, that must be it. Eric Drake says, I was 9 when Star Wars came out. Well, then you and I are about the same age, my friend. Ramona says, Trigger, I'm actually here a lot. I rarely comment because I'm multitasking and work on a project that needs to be done by the end of the year. Well, very cool. Well, I'm glad that you commented this time, Ramona, and you are always welcome, as you know. If you've listened a while, you know my attitudes on stuff, so thank you. Jeffrey says, Trigger, they did remake Charmed. Yeah, that's... I did not know that, and I didn't watch the original, though, so to be fair, I have no dog in the fight. Something's getting changed in some of the original Star Trek movies, depending on what version you're watching. Yeah, well, that's the problem, that there's multiple, like, the director's cut of Star Trek the Motion Picture I actually really like. I also like the director's cut of Star Trek 2, but I also like the theatrical edit of Star Trek 2. The biggest difference as far as canonical stuff is the fact that Saavik is established as being half Romulan. Luke says, hey, how long have you been live? Been live for a while, actually. How long have we been live now? Almost an hour. And so, yeah. And probably won't be on too much longer, Luke, to be honest with you, because I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I wanted to hang out with you guys a little. Let's see. Jeff says, I love TMP, especially the DVD directors. Yeah, the DVD director's cut of TMP is freaking awesome with the completed visual effects. Those completed visual effects shots were really good. And I gotta say, unlike the special edition of Star Wars, they did a great job of including the CG shots that look like they were part of the original film. Some of the external shots of the Enterprise were replaced with what they originally intended to be, and they had to use CG, of course, but they purposely made the CG look like the original models. In TMP, when the pod is taking Kirk to the ship, I don't need their journey to be in real time. It's just so long. Well, I disagree with you on that, Dan, but then again, I saw it when I saw it in theaters. Let me tell you, that was a jaw-drop moment. Because keep in mind, and this is something people don't understand, it's kind of like how people went all gaga over Avatar back a while ago. That movie, Star Trek the Motion Picture, had some of the best visual effects that anybody had ever seen, period. We've never seen spaceships look that good before. And so that scene, while yes, it's a little gratuitous, and yes, it is a little bit long, but it was just like, oh my God, they made the Enterprise look real. And they do the whole fly around thing and everything so you can see every angle of the ship, and it was just mind-blowing. Let's see. I really like the dry dock scene in Star Trek 1. Fan of TNG, so it's nice hearing the score in full Next Gen took for their theme. Yeah, but I think it was a cheap move, honestly, to borrow the theme from Star Trek the Motion Picture for Next Gen. Next up, the Discovery oh, don't even... no. Isn't that Hollywood has run out of ideas, won't take risks, hired incompetent boobs, or an insider club where only back scratchers can get their stuff made. I think there's a combination of, I don't think that they've run out of ideas, but I think that won't take risks is a big part of Hollywood right now. Incompetent boobs is a significant part of Hollywood. And the Insider Club is has always been a significant part of Hollywood. And that's the problem. The won't take risks. I mean, I can understand if you're throwing $150 million on the table. Do you really think about this for a minute? Do you really want someone to roll the dice with $150 million on the line? That's why they don't take risks. Incompetent boobs, though, is what you get like out of Star Trek for Star Trek Discovery. Like, the people that write Star Trek Discovery, I think, fall into the incompetent boobs. And the Insider Club has been a problem in Hollywood forever. Jeffrey says the issue with Star Trek the Motion Picture is that it was trying too hard to be like 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's nicknamed Star Trek the Slow Motion Picture. I know, and it is very slow paced, but I still don't hate it the way that a lot of people do. I really don't. I think that it's a better movie than people make it out to be. Let's see. They half-assed tried to emulate the Connie refit flyby in the pilot episode of Enterprise. It could have been done much better and set a "this is Trek and this is Enterprise" tone for it. Yeah, I remember that from the first episode of Enterprise, and that was before it was called Star Trek Enterprise. It was just called Enterprise in the first couple of seasons. But yeah, I think that was a mistake to try and do a callback there. That makes sense. Show how large the Enterprise is, then show how small it is compared to V'ger. Yeah, exactly. I think, and that's another thing that people miss out on, is that those shots of the Enterprise, the tiny little Enterprise next to V'ger, were supposed to be after they've already made it clear how freaking huge the Enterprise is. Rezu says, wait, Saavik is what? Yes, if you ever watch the director's cut of Star Trek II, there is a line when Kirk and Spock are talking after the Kobayashi Maru test, and Spock gives Kirk a Tale of Two Cities. Kirk is talking about how she destroyed the simulator room and you with it, and he said the lines that were cut out, I don't remember exactly what they were, but something to the effect like Kirk was like saying that she was being too aggressive or something like that, and Spock said, well, she is half Romulan or something, but that was cut. Hey, Antrigger, how about a stream with you, Bird of Prey 5, and Captain Foley? I think Captain Foley has won something like that recently. That would be fun. I'd be down for it. And Captain Foley has my contact information. He can always get a hold of me if he wants to do something like that. And so, and I've told Captain Foley recently that I would love to be on his show again. I haven't been on Trek Yards in a while. Sorry to see the red turd. May your turds get green tomorrow. Thank you. Jeff says, Andrew, much as I love Star Wars, it's not my favorite franchise. That would be Terminator. I started a second account dedicated to Terminator lore called TechCom, if you ever want to see it. Very cool. I like the Terminator films a lot, but unfortunately, I think that the Terminator franchise shouldn't be a franchise. The problem is the story isn't really deep enough to be a franchise unless you want to go beyond the Sarah Connor story. But I like the Sarah Connor story. What you would need to do is start sending, like there was a comic book that I actually have an autographed copy of called Terminator Secondary Objectives, where they send the Terminators after other people in history that make a difference. And so it becomes like an anthology series. Luke says, I was watching a movie called The Giver. Fun fact, it portrays the perfect, and I stress perfect, communist utopia, and it's truly scary. Everyone is literally colorblind. I heard of that movie. I haven't seen it. Joseph says, the original charm was actually really good. The remake was unwatchable for all the reasons. SJW and feminists, lesbian sisters, bad men, token minorities, plain bad. Sounds bad. Help me. It's from a TOS. Oh, well, if you meant it's from a TOS episode specifically, I would say the Savage Curtain. Although you left out help me, Spock, and help me, Kirk. Jesse Gender just did a video yesterday about TMP. Great watch. I recommend it. Might have to check that out. Peter says, well, I've enjoyed every single Christmas Carol. That story never gets old. I do like even the Christmas Carol movies. I haven't seen all of them. I've only seen a couple of them, but that is a great story. The story of Ebenezer Scrooge is a good one. The actors always seem up to their game. Let's see. The actors always seem up to their game for certain roles. I'm not sure what you mean there specifically. Average says, Hollywood doesn't take risks. You can't tell me there isn't any empirical data that shows that all this woke crap is profitable, yet they invest billions in it. Yeah, but you see, that's because that's where you get to the incompetent boobs part. Because the problem is that Hollywood thinks that the general world, the attitude of the world is the attitude of Twitter. And since you get a lot of SJW nonsense on Twitter, they think that's what everybody thinks. And so they genuinely don't understand why they're not making $1 billion every time they make a movie that's, you know, the same as the original, but with women, because that's so clever. Joseph says, how different would Star Trek have been if they had the option for basic kinetic weapons, like lobbing a tungsten rod at a ship that's designed to deflect energy weapons? Well, it would be much more like the combat in The Expanse, where they actually use basic kinetic weapons. And if you haven't seen The Expanse, Joseph, you should. It's on Amazon Prime, and Season 4 comes out in about a week. Jeff Frank is from another TOS episode. Well, another TOS episode when and it says, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. I'm trying to think, because I mean I can think of lines where people have said help me, but not over and over and over, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. So I'm drawing a blank. I don't know if it's just because I'm still not feeling well or what, but Jeff, you got me. What is it? You're right, Antrick. In our generation, we saw the Star Destroyer flying over in Star Wars 77, then the Enterprise fly over in 79. At that time, we'd never got to see anything like that before. Yeah, the Star Destroyer in 77 was like, wow. And then the Enterprise in 79 were like, holy crap, you know, because they took it even further. Jeffrey says, I have the movie novel. Saavik was actually supposed to fall for David, and her half Romulan blood would make her very angry. She was supposed to be the traitor in 6 instead of Valeris. Yes. Actually, it was funny because Bird of Prey was talking about Star Trek 6 on his stream today, and I mentioned that I'm kind of pissed that Kirstie Alley couldn't make arrangements to get a break from Cheers to reprise her role as Saavik in Star Trek 6. I think that would have been a lot better. Enter. Terminator could have been a franchise if they expanded. In the comics, Nuclear Twilight, we learned T-1000's default is Robert Patrick. He was a soldier captured by Skynet. Well, I know there's a lot of interesting lore behind the Terminator stuff, but the problem is that they just don't. You know, the movies outside of the first 2 Sarah Connor films, they've all sucked. I mean, not all as bad as, you know, like some have sucked more than others, but they've all been clearly inferior films. Jeff says, I've stumped the anti-checker. LOL. Yeah, you did. But we got to put an asterisk by that. While he was sick and suffering from 2 days with no sleep. So, you know, there is that. Let's see. Nah, they don't really take risk with wokeness. That's why the wokeness already money-making franchise instead of building their own woke franchise. Yes, exactly. Indy was guessing Charlie X, but Jeff says Landrew. Oh yes, when they broke the computer, it was just yelling, "Help me! Help me! Help me!" Okay, I got it. Why didn't they use Robin Curtis in Star Trek 6? Because everybody hated Robin Curtis. The same reason Jar Jar Binks was reeled back in Episode 2. When Robin Curtis took over the role of Saavik in Star Trek 3, people were freaking pissed off. And that's why in Star Trek 4, she's in all of about 2 minutes of the film. And seeing Superman flying on the big screen in the 70s with John Williams' fantastic music score, not to mention Alien out in the late 70s, we had some good stuff back. Oh, yeah. Some incredible movie making back then. And that's the problem is that nowadays, you're not going to, you know, the thing about like Star Trek the Motion Picture, the spectacle of seeing a realistic to scale Enterprise was an incredible thing, right? It was just mind-blowing to see that. But now visual effects mean nothing, because as long as you have $200-300 million to spend, you could literally produce a movie about anything and make it look real. So what you've got to do is impress us with a great story, and that's something that Hollywood seems to have forgotten how to do. I would just say that Rottenberry was a scientific hack. The pilot episode, what they said, these super advanced aliens don't know what humans look like. How to know how to put someone back? It's called DNA. Duh. Yeah, there's a few problems with it. The Cage was not nearly as great as a lot of people make it out to be. Now, I'm not going to call him Rottenberry. I'm sure Gene Roddenberry did some shady things. I'm certainly not going to defend the man. But he is 1/4 responsible for the invention of Trek. Mark liked the Sarah Connor Chronicles. I actually liked that show as well. I thought it was all right. But was it great? No, it was all right. There's a deleted scene from one of the Terminator movies that completely dismantles the lore of them. Okay, what lore specifically? Landrew is gentle. Yes. Why were the fans pissed? Because Robin Curtis was not Savick. Here's the thing. Kirstie Alley's Savick felt like she was curious about human behavior. She didn't, and she kind of considered humans beneath her, but so did Spock. Like that whole thing where he's so human and Spock says nobody's perfect. They weren't, Spock wasn't cracking a joke. I mean, Vulcans do consider themselves superior, but they respect humans and and all that. In Star Trek 3, the line that really always sticks out to me is when David and Savick are on the Grissom, and David says, "This is where the fun begins, Savick," and she goes, "Just like your father, so human." And it was just like, what? That didn't sound like a Vulcan at all. That just sounded like some spiteful female dog. So yeah, she just didn't fit. She didn't feel like the same character. Jeff says, one Terminator movie I'd like to see is the man behind the T-800 facing his infiltrator doppelganger, a human Arnold versus robot Arnold. That would actually could be an interesting story, but Arnold is obviously way too old for that. And I'm sorry, they need to stop revisiting the Arnold well, because here's a problem with the Terminator thing. It was never the intent when the first Terminator came out that particular model all looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because think about it. If that was the case, then all you'd have to do is send out to the Resistance a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger and say, this guy's a Terminator, don't let him in. Each Terminator had a unique human flesh skin over it. And that was the thing that was scary about them, because anybody could potentially be a Terminator. For me, Blade Runner still has the best practical effects in a movie. It still holds up and looks better than most CG effects today. It looks pretty darn good today, that's true. The only way they could have made a successful Terminator franchise would have been to directly dive into the future after T2 with a convincing John Connor. Yeah, but obviously Terminator 3 derailed that idea. Jeffrey says, do you think that they should have went with Savick being pregnant with Spock's child in Star Trek 4 when she chose to stay on Vulcan? That would have made more sense, but obviously we'll never know what happened there. Hey, Antrek, what's your favorite sci-fi B-level movie? The Day the Earth Stood Still. Love The Day the Earth Stood Still. Also, if you want pure cheesy B-level sci-fi movies, check out Earth versus the Flying Saucers. It's actually Earth, and remember that title, Earth versus the Flying Saucers. It's a 1950s sci-fi movie, and it's actually taken very seriously. Like, as far as the story, the acting, all that, it's kind of their version of the 1950s version of Independence Day. It's surprisingly good. The first time, I saw it pop up in Amazon Prime, and I'm going to watch Earth versus the Flying Saucer. And then a friend of mine, I was asking about good B movies, and I asked a friend who's I consider an expert on film, and he suggested that one. So I watched it, and I was like, holy crap, it's actually really good. So if you really want a good one to check out, Earth versus the Flying Saucers, look for it. Everything looked great in the 70s and 80s because our generation had imagination which filled in the blanks even when the effects fell flat. That's true. Luke says, but said follow-up should not feature Skynet or the Judgment Day, rather a new AI and a new way to end the reign of humanity. Well, my understanding is that's kind of what they're doing with Terminator Dark Fate, to be honest with you, Luke, but I haven't seen Dark Fate yet. is that it's no longer Skynet, it's called Legion, because obviously in Terminator 2 they prevented Judgment Day. The tragedy of the century was that every sequel is more and more watered down with each edition. I've seen it in games as well as TV and movies, original works given to visionless hacks. Well, that's a problem, yes. If you have a franchise that you don't have a direction for, then yes, movies tend to become watered down the more you do, and then the main stars start demanding too much money, and so you got to replace them, and then it just becomes a mess. On YouTube, there's a deleted scene from Rise of Machines that shows how the Terminator looks and sounds like Arnold. I'll check it out when I get a chance. What confused me in Dark Fate, T-800 had a dog, and dogs were allergic to robots. Stupid movie. Well, I haven't seen Dark Fate yet, but if Arnold actually actually had a dog, yes, that seems kind of stupid. Yeah, I know Earth versus the Flying Saucers. It's great. Yeah, it's a surprisingly good movie. The title just sounds like all sorts of 1950s cheese, but it is a 1950s movie, but holy crap. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I think Ray Harryhausen actually did the flying saucer effects. How do you think the growth of deep fake technology will affect the movie industry? Will actors license their likenesses? Will we see return of deceased actors? Other thoughts? I hope not. I know it could mean things like that. Like, obviously, you could bring back Humphrey Bogart, or you could bring back, John Wayne or whatever. You can obviously, I know that Disney is obviously, Marvel within Disney has obviously perfected the de-aging process to make someone look like they looked 20, 30 years prior. And, yeah, it's some great stuff, but I honestly think, like, once Arnold Schwarzenegger's dead, I don't want to see his Terminator anymore. Now that Carrie Fisher is dead, I do not want to see Princess Leia anymore. Now, in some cases, depending on the type of franchise it is, the character and the franchise is bigger than the actor. So, for example, the tragic death of Anton Yeltsin should not mean that Chekhov can no longer be in Star Trek. All right, so and granted, I'm not a big defender of the J.J. Abrams films. I liked the first two. I thought the third one was hot garbage. I don't want the fourth one that everybody's talking about, but whatever. But if they're going to do a fourth one, and I know they've been saying, oh, well, we won't recast. We'll just, leave, we won't have Chekhov. No, recast him. Chekhov is an essential part of the formula. You don't get rid of Chekhov just because the actor died. It's tragic, but it happens. Look at Dr. Sleep, and if you haven't seen Dr. Sleep, it's freaking excellent. And Dr. Sleep recast the entire cast of The Shining. And it works. WSI says, thank you for your channel and streams. Like it, keep going. Thank you so much, WSI. I will keep doing it as long as I am physically and or mentally able. The Roger Corman Alien ripoff is good. I don't think I've seen a Roger Corman Alien film. 91 was Prime Kirsty on Cheers. Okay. Uncle Raymond says, you're right about Ray. Well, of course I am, but I'm not sure specifically what you're talking about. Luke says, now, as far as I can tell, the other AI in Dark Fate was just Skynet without the name, and Judgment Day still happens. The new AI should have a new personality and a different approach. Well, I get that, but now, here's the thing. We were talking about taking risks and everything. What they were doing is just repeating the same formula that struck gold in Terminator and Terminator 2. And so that's why they have to, oh, wow, this time it's called Legion, but it does basically the same thing. And which actually makes it the third iteration because, of course, in Terminator Genesis, it's Genesis that's actually the cause of everything. Why aren't more movies driven by stories written by Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, Harlan Ellison? There'd be a ton of good sci-fi stories out there from decades past. First of all, the writers that you cite there, their stories do not translate well to film. I like the Foundation, for example, Isaac Asimov's Opus Magnus, right? The Foundation trilogy. Incredible. However, Foundation can only work as a television series and only if you commit to doing about a 10-year run of the series so that you can include everything. There is no way to make a good Foundation movie. Have you ever seen Ex Machina? Ex Machina, great film. I own it. That's a nice highbrow sci-fi film. And proof that you can still make good sci-fi on a budget. Wouldn't say Dogs was allergic to Terminators. They just sensed the robots. A puppy brought up with a robot would accept the robot. You're probably right about that, DJ. That's a fair point. That if, was it Carl? Is that what he named himself? If he got a dog that was actually a puppy, he could probably get it used to his robot self. They should have just stuck with Cyberdyne and Skynet. Screw Legion, it's too generic. The T3 origin of the T800 is cheesy and different from the one in T2 Infiltrator novel. Well, the novel's obviously not considered canon, but then currently neither is T3. So the only canon in Terminator right now is T1, 2, and Dark Fate. Sci-Fi says, I think it from T2 has Arnold as a Southern speaking an army sergeant showing off his face because it's going to be the T800 while they're showcasing the T1 to the military and someone else had his voice. Oh, yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that deleted scene. Fluggerville says, hey, Sicky Tricker. Hey, that's about the right name right now. Hey. Track 95 says, do you think CGI could get in the way of being creative? Oh, I think it absolutely has. I think that the problem is that since you can now create any image you can imagine, you can make, on a low budget TV show, you can make spaceships that look freaking awesome, right? I mean, look at, if you look at shows like the Orville, you look at Star Trek Discovery, even though the designs of the ships in Star Trek Discovery are crap, the actual visual effects that you can pull off for TV level budgets is The Expanse is actually a lower budget show. But these you can do visual effects that are incredible. Battlestar Galactica 2004, another great example, because hard body mechanics CG is actually very, very easy. That's the easiest CG to do. So, and that's one reason that the Battlestar Galactica was they considered it groundbreaking, but really they just were very good with their budget. But as far as so the problem is that now they're relying on the spectacle, but the spectacle is just not impressive anymore because we already know you can do anything. Tell me a story. I want a good story, good characters, and all that. Is Chekhov really essential? I always thought him as an extra. No, I think he's an essential part of the core. I mean, obviously he didn't show up till season 2, but after that he became he's an iconic part of the bridge crew. Peter says it's about 9 p.m., so I'm going to log off. All right, Peter, well, I'm taking off shortly anyway, so thank you, though, for hanging out with me. Jeffrey says, as much as I appreciate Chekhov, it is a new timeline where anything can happen. My stepdad thinks I should just open 4 with a funeral for Chekhov, and the girl from 3 struggles to fill the void. I can see something like that, yeah. Captain Redneck's like, he's off to bed at 1 p.m. Well, it's 9 p.m. for him. And welcome, Captain. And Aberjam says, Nerdrotic, Doomcock, Bird of Prey, Shag, Marry, Kill. Pretend you're a woman and make it easier. Wow. Nerdrotic, Doomcock, and Bird of Prey, Shag, Marry, Kill. That's, wow. All right, well, I'm going to have to go and first of all, you only get to see 2, and that's Bird of Prey and Nerdrotic. So I'm going to have to go Shag Nerdrotic because I think he's the best looking guy. No offense, Bird. However, I would give the Marry to Bird because Bird, I think, has the most fun personality. Although, and plus, thinking from perspective of a woman, how could he possibly stop me from going out and doing whatever I wanted to do? That leaves Kill Doomcock. And so Doomcock, hey, you know what? Never reveals his face, so can't give a good assessment of what's under there. Do you ever see Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise? I have not. What do you think of Peter Cushing's likeness being used in Rogue One? Do you think it was disrespectful? I do. I think they actually did a good job with it. I know a lot of people will say, oh my God, it's so horrible. Well, it's horrible because you know it's fake. But it was well done for what it was, but I do think it's disrespectful. I don't think you should do that. Just recast Tarkin. The funny thing is the body double they had also did the voice for Tarkin. With a decent amount of makeup, he would have been a passable Tarkin. They could save Star Wars if they have Luke wake up and say, what a horrible dream, and then open the next movie with Luke in hand trying to steal an Empire data core with Lando as the escape driver. Never going to happen. Harlan Edison was a consultant on Babylon 5 and he even appeared a cranky AI that was taken offline because no one liked him. I did not know that. And one of the main cast even shooting a terminal with his voice. I did not know that. And Captain Redneck says, shutting up. I'm shocked.
Hello,
And speaking of which, Captain Redneck put $20 into the chat, says, let's just go with Nerd Prey 5 Anti-Tricker and be done with it. Nerdicado Prey 5 Anti-Tricker. Nerdicado Prey 5 Anti-Tricker. Wow. That doesn't flow off the tongue, but you know what? Someone needs to change their username to that. Nerdicado Prey 5 Anti-Tricker. Or maybe Anti-Nerdicado Prey 5 Trekker. DJ is so young, he makes Twitter look old. Okay. Well, DJ and I are about the same age. It's flawed, but Terminator Salvation has potential for new stories and expand the universe to tie into the two movies. All we gotten was reheated Thanksgiving leftovers from 1984. Jeffrey says, Dark Fate ain't canon as it breaks the continuity. The only canon is T1, T2, and T2 3D battle across time. While 3 is Salvation have flaws, they help add to the lore like John's wife. Well, I understand what you're saying, but keep in mind, you don't get to, and I don't like it, but this is just the facts. You don't get to pick canon. Whoever owns the franchise ultimately gets to pick canon. And right now, they say canon is T1, T2, and Dark Fate. I don't like that, but that's the way it is. Scientific Lens says, Corman's Galaxy of Terror had twice the budget of Battle Beyond the Stars, and also had James Corman working on it. Without Galaxy of Terror, there would be no aliens. I have not seen that one. I love Battle Beyond the Stars, though. That's my favorite Corman film. Chekhov replaced with the three-legged alien from the animated series. I would actually be down for that. If you're going to replace Chekhov, yes, I can't remember that character's name, but replace him with him. And there is Captain Redneck's 20. Thank you again, my friend. I appreciate that. Even though Nerdicado Prey 5 Anti-Tracker doesn't roll off the tongue. Although CGI can look amazing, I miss the mystery of pre-CGI era where it would be discussed for months. How the heck did they do that? Yeah. That is, and the thing is that that's why I think CGI is a little over-relied on. I love the fact that you can do almost anything with CGI. I'm not a purist where I think everything should be practical. But I think as often as possible, like I think sets should be real. Right? You should not have, like, for example, this is a nice picture of the Enterprise bridge behind me, but this shouldn't be the actual, deal where, that you have the characters in front of a green screen pretending they're on a set. No, the sets need to be practical as much as possible and only use CG where it is necessary. So, like, if you were doing something on the Enterprise bridge, the only thing that should be CG is what's on the main view screen. And you can have what's on the view screens, the individual view screens, CG as well, but you don't put them in post. You have them there on the monitor so the actors can see it. As opposed to, so like say like you have the red turd is on the screen. Rather than have a green screen and then you add the red turd later, you actually have a monitor in the wall there, and you add the red turd and film it with the red turd there, and not add it in post. And Captain Redneck with another 20, feeling generous today, Captain Redneck. Don't know what's wrong with you. Usually you're a mean old son of a bitch, but thank you. It says, okay. Let that finish rolling off there. Tongue roller. Anti-bird o nerd wow. Anti-bird o nerd doomtick. Anti-bird o nerd doomtick .com. Wow. Anti-bird o nerd doomtick. Anti-bird o nerd doomtick. Well, I think that works better than, what was the other one? Nerdicado Prey 5 Anti-Tracker. So yes, I do think that Anti-bird o nerd doomtick flows a little better. Luke says, hail to the captain on the bridge. Yes, indeed. And Captain Redneck says, I need to make me a new channel. Yes, you should make a channel and call it Anti-Bird o Nerd Doomtick. The Scorpius actor from Farscape could have done an excellent Tarkin. I have only watched one episode of Farscape, so I don't know who that is. Zabe says, I can admit Tarkin CGI was okay and people have different tolerances for it, but it was not obviously fake right away. Wouldn't matter if I knew or not. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I talked to one person that saw Rogue One that didn't know that Peter Cushing had passed away, and they just assumed that was Peter Cushing. And so that's, you know, giving it a compliment. However, I do think it's disrespectful to Peter Cushing to have somebody imitate his voice and have a computer-generated version of him. It was fine before he stepped out of the shadows. I think it looked okay pretty much through the whole thing. I know that a lot of people don't like it, but I think it was fine. They say that Nero was in the Star Trek movie, the first one, or he was in a Klingon custody and escaped. Well, how did they get him in the first place with this big ship? Because what they didn't really explain, and this is in, if you watch the deleted scenes and stuff, it kind of hints at it, but they still don't, they never did the visual effects for it. But when George Kirk suicide ran into the Narada, it actually did a significant amount of damage to the Narada. So the Narada was completely disabled, and then in the book, I believe it is, the Narada drifts into Klingon space, and then a bunch of Klingon warbirds, yes, they call them warbirds, decloak and try to capture the ship. Now, then they put Nero and his crew in custody, and the Narada is in a Klingon shipyard, but the Klingons can't get access to anything because, you know, it's all future Romulan tech, so they can't access the computers or anything, and the ship is regenerating. Uncle Remus, are you going to watch Crisis on Infinite Earths on WB? I think it starts with Supergirl this Sunday. I'm not planning on it, to be honest with you, because I don't care for the WB iteration of DC heroes right now. Let's see. Andrew, I need a breakdown for the movie Earth Star Voyager. Wow, I don't even know that one. Brian McFarland says, hey, Andrew, how do you like the Martian Chronicles TV series with Rock Hudson? You know, I watched it when it was first on, but now I can't remember. And so I don't know. I remember seeing it, but I don't remember anything about it. Too many green screens, you end up with Attack of the Clones. Exactly. Fandom Menace is here, says, Antrigger, if he was not in Klingon custody, what was he doing for 20 some odd years sitting in the middle of nowhere? I don't know. Yeah, the Klingon custody makes sense to a point. But, and, oh, the other thing that they established in the book is that they calculated that Spock wouldn't show up for 20 years. So when the Klingons put him in prison, they just figured, screw it, we'll just hang out here for 20 years. Which is stupid, but whatever. Joseph says, as far as I'm concerned, Terminator ended with T2's cut ending of Sarah sitting in a park with her granddaughter and John is running for president. It would have been a good ending, and that's what I choose. And that's fair. And Jeffrey says, with due respect, what's canon is what the majority of people accept, and sadly the people in control, while they own franchises, they are the minority, like with Superman mythos. I have to, well, here's the thing. I understand what you're saying. But you can accept whatever you want, but you know, here's the thing. Let's say you say, well, canon doesn't include, say, Terminator Dark Fate, but then they make a sequel to Dark Fate, and then they make a sequel to that movie, and it's all based on the Dark Fate lore. I don't know what's in there, but you know, the LGB 2000 is like the main character of the Terminator franchise from now on. Well, you can sit there and scream, it's not canon, but you just sound like a whiny 5-year-old. At that point, you just got to say, you know what, I'm out. And Captain Redneck says, new catchphrase. What? Anti-bird o nerd doomtic? Anti-bird o nerd doomtic reloaded. Oh, jeez. Now you're really going for it. I would replace Chekhov in universe, but not kill him off. He was an awesome character, and that could always be brought back and recast in a later film. No earlier than 6 if it gets that far. It won't get that far. I don't think 4 is going to even happen, to be honest with you. Doomrado Prey. Anti-Doomrado Prey. That's not too bad. How about this? Anti-Bird Nerd Cocker. Piano Dean says, are you doing Rational Roundtable tomorrow morning? I'm planning on it, yes, as long as I'm up to it. Overlord Anti-Bird Codic Doom Prey 5. Didn't even notice the CGI Jeff Bridges in the new Tron. Well, I did, but that's just because I remember seeing Jeff Bridges back in the day. Charlie actor Robert Walker just passed away. Yes, I heard about that, and I know Bird of Prey already covered it in his live stream, but yes, died just after DC, and just sad that we lost 2 Trek alumni in as many days. To me, people saying they can't tell it's CGI are like people who claim not to recognize 60 frames per second in games. Maybe their eyes work differently or something. Well, you have to realize, say, like, there are a lot of people that genuinely can't tell the difference, say, between 1080p and 4K. I can spot the difference, but most people can't. And that's just one of those things. Certain people can see certain different levels of fidelity and that kind of thing. Just like certain people can hear better than I have a terrible ear. Anti-birdocock? Birdocock? Anti-birdrotic cock. Wow. You guys are just coming with some weird stuff. Have you watched the STD trailer? It looks like it's going to be mostly influenced by Kojima's Death Stranding. Also, Baby Yoda is Gremlin's gizmo for millennials. Well, first of all, I love Baby Yoda. But no, I've not seen the STD trailer yet. How about Anti-Campia? Oh, man, somebody needs to set up that channel. How about Goonies, the old generation? Anti-Banjo Boy Bird of Prey. Oh, that's a different one. Hey, Chair, what are the mirror universes? Why are mirror universes always portrayed with the same characters? Just because Cisco's born in one universe doesn't mean he would be in the other. Well, it depends on how you look at it, because in the original series, the concept of the mirror universe was that it was, in fact, everything was exactly the same, except good was bad and bad was good. And so that's why, like, if you'll notice, not only was the ship duplicated and the people duplicated, but even individual actions were duplicated. So, like, McCoy, when they were in sickbay, was like, this isn't sickbay. Everything's, like, out of order and messed. Wait a minute. I spilled acid right there a year ago. So things that, like physical damage to his table happened in both universes at the exact same place and time. They're both on the mission to the Halkan planet at the same time, but just one is good, one is evil. So they are supposed to be truly parallel universes, which is why the Deep Space Nine rendition of the mirror universe makes 0 sense whatsoever. Why did Nero and his crew get detained, and did he say why it was, or because they trespass in Klingon prisons are not the best places? Right, how did they know they would live 20 years? Well, I'm not going to say that there's not holes in it, Phantom Menace, but I'm just telling you what the book and the deleted scenes have in them. David says, I can't see the difference. Well, a lot of people can't. Don't feel bad about that. Darth Maul says, this, Anti-Bird Cocker Nerdo Prey 5. Wow. Sci-Fi Nation says, happy Turdy Days and Merry Karogamus. Oh, jeez. Phantom Menace says, why did Nero and his crew, that message retracted right when I was starting to read it. Okay. TechCom says, it's me, Jeffrey Turner. I switched over to my other account. I understand I'll sound like a kid yelling. Oh, it's not canon, but I will say respect anyone trying to adhere to OG. Well, Jeffrey, that I want canon to make sense. That's why I did the Borg video and the upcoming Borg video and other stuff. I want the canon to make sense. I truly do. And I don't like it when there's canonical violations. But that being said, you still have to respect the copyright owner. I don't like it, but you have to. Aberjam says, final offer. Anti-geekrotic cock-o-prey division reloaded. Wow. Oh, that's just crazy. Darth Maul says Nerdo Prey Cocker 5. And Anti-Nerdrotic is in the house, says this time the anti-fandom menace approaches. Signed, Redneck. It is time the anti-fandom menace approaches. Oh, man. In Mirror DS9, the Dominion should be called the Confederation and led by an idealistic founders, while Odo despises them and joins the Terran Empire. Bajorans are terrified by Cisco. Yes! That is, and in fact, yes, in fact, what the story should have been that the Cardassians were there to help defend the Bajorans against the evil Empire, but then the Empire took over and is subjugating Bajor. Maybe it's just me, but I never bought into the Gollum. I never bought into Gollum in Lord of the Rings and could tell he was CGI. He was good CGI, but he never looked right, and he didn't sit right in the landscape. I don't know. I think, yeah, there's a few scenes where it's pretty bad, but I think for its day, he was groundbreaking. If I was going to make Star Trek show, I think they would have a First Contact division, and they should call the show Star Trek: The Prime Directive, or some also Burnt Turkey Au Pré. Burnt Turkey Au Pré, I like that. Brian says, "Hey, Edgar, what's the most venerable part of the USS Enterprise 1701A when it comes to combat?" I assume you mean vulnerable. Well, actually, you saw that in Star Trek II. Khan hit the Enterprise at the perfect spot. You nail the main engine room. Because notice that from that hit through the end of the movie, the Enterprise had no warp drive until, you know, Spock sacrificed himself to get the mains back on. And it was that one hit that did it. Phantom Menace says, "I try not to put the same stuff out. Do I retract it now, or do I try like I? If I do, I retract it now, or I try to like I just did. No worries." Jeff says, "The point of Mirror Mirror was the possibility of changing the Terran Empire through Spock. The DS9 Mirror Universe show how it changed." I don't think that was the point of Mirror Mirror. I think Mirror Mirror was just a fun idea of what if everything was opposite. But you know, that's just me. And Adam says, "How do you think Khan would have handled the Borg if he had the Enterprise instead of Picard?" Khan? He would have been more aggressive. He would have probably tried to learn their secrets and use it to take over the universe himself. And then he would get assimilated. And call him to the Reaper instead of them. Call him the Reaper instead of the emissary, and believe he sends them to the prophets, who are the evil ones. While the paw race are the good guys, but in a prison. Yes. The Mirror Universe can't maintain continuity as the opposite of the main universe while keeping all the same people born and alive. It's just a way to tell a story. Well, I understand that, Romater, but if the thing is, at least at the point of the original series, the two universes were identical but opposite. And I think that that's cool. That storyline would be a good DS9 reboot called Star Trek Terek Nor in the Mirror Universe. I could see that. I could actually see that. And let's see. Aberdam says, "I often wondered, how does one shoot a shield generator through a shield?" I always wondered that too. It seems like Star Wars seems extraordinarily inconsistent as to what exactly do shields in Star Wars even do, because they'll say the shields are on, but then we've never seen shields in Star Wars effectively do anything, at least not in the films. Maybe Star Trek Discovery is a Mirror Universe. I wish that were true. If I made a Terminator show, I call it Terminator Prime. It tells the original timeline with no time travel, how initially John was born and survived Judgment Day, and no Father Reese. Interesting idea. I don't believe IP ownership should exist. I think it's like saying corporation can own our childhoods. Who paid me to own my dreams? The vision of the creator is a living thing all its own. Well, Joseph, I understand your sentiment, but the thing is that the reason those IPs exist is so that companies, and like in the case of Trek, Desilu, NBC, and Paramount, the IPs were created so that they could make a profit. And so, of course, they own the IP. If they didn't own the IP, they couldn't make a profit off of it, and they couldn't prevent other people from just stealing it and making a profit off of themselves. Mir Hoshi in Enterprise was hot. That was definitely her best. Khan would have used Hugh's virus if he got to that point. Yeah, I think he would have. The Mirror two-parter in Enterprise was fantastic. Oh, I think that was the absolute best. The absolute best of Enterprise. Captain Redneck says, "I think that anti-nerderatic guy makes a lot of sense." Of course you do, Captain Redneck. Of course you do. Brian says, "Hey, Antrigger, if Mrs. Antrigger was part of the original Enterprise crew, what would the ideal rank and position for her?" I think that she would actually be the comms officer. She would be like Hoshi. She's very good at understanding, and we used to joke about it all the time because when she worked in retail for a while, and people would come into the store, and I swear you couldn't understand a word they said because their accent was so thick, or they were like drunk out of their minds, and they were like, and she always understood them fine. As far as rank, Admiral. No, I'd make her a lieutenant commander. You can answer just about anything with quantum. That's very true. Average says, as much as I love my Star Treks and Star Wars, nothing will ever top the Shadow War in Babylon 5. Well, I do love the Shadow War in Babylon 5. It could definitely use a fresh coat of paint. I still hold the bad robot in Section 31. I still hold the bad robot is Section 31 of our universe. They will actually tell stories in the show how they subverted our expectation and dashed our dreams. Yes, they... Sci-Fi Nation says, the only shields I've seen do anything in Star Wars were the ones on battle droids, and Mirror to Paul was way hotter. Agreed on Mirror to Paul, and you're right, the battle droids, I forgot about those. And also, like, they had the shields, like the Gungan shield and stuff. But why don't ship shields do that? It doesn't make any sense. People can make a profit without IP, they just have to create good stories. Well, here's the problem, Sean. They can't make profit long-term off of something they created. So, like, I create the character of Captain Kirk, and I put up a TV series called Star Trek, and then 6 months later, someone else goes, ooh, hey, here's the new adventures of Captain Kirk. Now I'm screwed. I don't get to make any money. The shields in Star Wars are there to cover up plot holes. The other plot holes, not the massive ones from the last few movies. No shields could cover them. Dan says, when watching the Mirror Universe Enterprise on TV, they don't always use the special opening sequence. Well, every time I've seen it, it has, but now I just watch it off of streaming. So I don't think Roddenberry's primary motivation when he envisioned Trek was how I can make lots of money. If money is the primary motivation, then they should all become lawyers. If you don't think that Roddenberry's primary motivation was money, then you should pay attention to what he's actually said. He lied about the concept of the show so that he could get the funding. The IDIC symbol was created so that he could try to sell it. He also tried to create a pilot out of an episode with the Gary Seven thing. He was all about the Benjamins. In fact, one of the most horrible things that he did was that beautiful Star Trek theme song. He wrote lyrics to the song. Why did he write lyrics to the song? Not because it added anything, and they were never used on air, but he added the lyrics because by law, if a song has lyrics that were written by a different person than the author of the music, the lyricist gets half of the royalties for that song. He did it so that he would get half of the royalties and steal money out of Alexander Courage's pocket. So no, he was all about the Benjamins. The shields protect your stuff till they go down from a missile. May be able to get through, but I don't know for sure. Well, the problem is, though, fandom, is that we've never seen the shields be effective. Although also, based on The Mandalorian, it's becoming more and more apparent that blasters are not plasma. They're some kind of projectile. The Enterprise Mirror episode also had far better theme than Faith of the Heart. That's true. So, Enter, you're saying she is good with her tongue. No comment. If companies are trying to make a profit off of IPs, why are they sabotaging the IPs and risking losing money? Because they honestly believe that's where the boobies thing we talked about before, where they're moronic. They really believe that that's the way to go, that that's how it's going to make money. Vile says, did you hear the guy that played Charlie X died? Yes, we talked about that earlier. Read previous unat comment. Luke, that's mean. Luke says, like you, I thought shields weren't seeing the original trilogy until I released all those proximity explosions around capital ships are supposed to be turbo laser bolts exploding on the shields. Oh, until you realized all those proximity explosions around the capital ships are supposed to be turbo laser bolts exploding on the shields. What proximity explosions are you referring to specifically, Luke? I don't remember seeing proximity explosions in the original trilogy. Captain Redneck says, Mrs. Ancher could be a rear admiral. No comment. Neo Naomi says, why does Trek Yards not include the ship designs from Star Trek Legacy as they had a pre-TOS Miranda class called the Neptune class? I don't know. You'd have to ask Trek Yards that one. Rome Hater says, the Orville was able to do an homage to Next Generation and didn't have to worry about IP. Yes, That's how you do it. And by the way, the Orville did Star Trek The Next Generation better than Star Trek The Next Generation. Vamok said, I always thought that Star Wars shields worked like a blade of armor, dissipating enemy fire but not stopping it entirely. I kind of figured something like that, but it just seems weird that because we see shields like on the battle droids and the Gungan shields and stuff that are clearly giant force fields that will stop anything that's fast moving. So I don't, but if you slowly push into it, you can get through it. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. You will still make money if you have good stories. IP is the opposite of free market. Well, I'm sorry, Sean. I believe that the creator of a artistic work has the right to own those characters. I don't think it's right that, like, let's say that this turd was a character that I created and I was making millions of dollars off of animations of the turd, and then all of a sudden 20 other people were making animations of the same turd and making money off of it. That's not fair to me. It's my creation. They can create their own damn turd. Just admit it, the shields in Star Trek equate to the writing of the episode and movie. Well, that's true too. Neo Normally says the shields of Star Wars are based on blast wave and heat, not energy absorbing like Federation shields. Well, Neo Normally, like I said, then explain to me why we have the shields, the Gungan shield and the droid shields that look like force fields, and then we have starship shields that appear to do nothing. I mean, they genuinely appear to do nothing. A crap ton of explosions that happen around these ships. If turbo lasers had some kind of flak effect, those actually hit the shields. Right, but I'm saying when... I'm trying to picture what you're talking about. When do you see all these explosions around the capital ships? Because you're saying, oh yeah, when you see all those explosions around the capital ships. I don't remember seeing that, so that's what I'm asking. When do you see it? TechCom says, I read Star Wars plus Nurtaro fanfic where Nurtaro flew beside Luke to the trench run to protect Luke from Vader, and Nurtaro put all power to rear shields and shielded Luke from Vader. Okay. Brian says, hey, Anti-Checker, do you like the current design of the USS Anti-Checker, or do you have new ideas for the design? I'm actually working on a new design. Adam says, would you have enjoyed a mirror on TNG? Yes. I actually really would have. I would love to see Evil Picard. How do the shields function in Lore Reloaded's universe? Well, they don't, because they're shields, not shields. Trek95 says, bad shields equals bad writing. That is true. And unfortunately, I mean, like, I know we're picking on Star Wars a little bit, but the Star Trek shields have been very inconsistent as well. What have we just said? That the original creators, the only ones that can own the thing, as only they can make the true sequel. Legal aside, it's just being honest about how things work. Well, the thing about that, though, is that who's the original creator then? If, for example, I am being paid by another company to create something, is that my creation or the company's creation? Because the company, it wouldn't be created if the company wasn't paying me. See what I'm saying? Jeff says, too bad that the shields in Star Wars ships aren't treated the same way as the Star Wars ships in the computer games, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing, etc. Yeah, well, they're not. The best shield you could have in current year sci-fi is a Katiski flag. The enemy will all sprung out of your head straight to Twitter, leaving you free to destroy the lot. Okay. According to books I've read, the Gungan technology is secret to them and is a variant of plasma from Naboo core, if I remember right. But here's the thing, Phantom Menace, because even, and I do know this much, when the Empire, or not the Empire, but when the Separatists were fighting the Republic in the Clone Wars, in the Clone Wars story, they have the exact same type of shield technology as the Gungans. That's actually in the show. Look at the scenes with the Falcon on the Mon Calamari ships, or around Obi-Wan's fighter in Attack of the Clones, for that matter, since Lucas redid the idea. Well, I don't remember seeing explosions around the Falcon. I remember seeing explosions on the Falcon. That's what I'm saying. Mrs. Redneck once put all power to rear shields. Whiskey overcame it. That's bad. Lucas sold Star Wars. He decided he didn't want control over it. That's correct. I'm writing my own story that I hope will become a series. If anyone wants to write their own extensions of it, they cannot interfere with what I wrote. My story has to be core to what they do. Okay. But that's you have the right to say that. If you didn't have the right to say that, then it could piss you off. Anti-nerdcock Doombird. Wow. Do you like Future Ship Armor and Voyager Endgame? Discovery Season 2, there's something similar to it that goes over the shuttle. It's okay. Seems a little cheap to me. You should get the game Surviving Mars for streaming. It's a very addictive planetary colonization game that uses real science and terraforming. I may do that. I'm thinking about trying to get a game to stream. Hand Trigger, in the Kuroga War, has Bird of Prey proven himself as a worthy warrior competitor? He has proven that he's a worthy competitor to himself by crashing all of his ships. Do you like Enterprise polarizing instead of shields? No, I actually like shields better. But with that, guys, I am going to wrap it up because, yeah, I'm hurting at this point, and it's been almost 2 hours. So I need to get off my feet and also give my throat a rest because I've been pushing it. Anyway, but thank you all for hanging out with me. I truly appreciate it. One last thing from Luke. The explosions happening on the Falcon didn't necessarily damage the Falcon because it wasn't hitting the Falcon directly. It was her hull-tight shield taking the bullet. Then why did you see explosions inside the Falcon? See? That's the problem. Is that people will shoot a supposedly shielded opponent in Star Wars, and then you have everything inside the ship blowing up like there was no shields. Get it? Anyway, guys, so thank you all. Take care. Have a great one, and hopefully I'll see you all on Rational Roundtable tomorrow morning. And, of course, the credits are broken again. I mean, stupid.
You son of a bitch, anti-tracker! You son of a bitch, anti-tracker!